Nora and I find ourselves in the quaint village of Weston in Hertfordshire to share with you a whimsical local folktale that few will have heard of. Nottingham has the legendary Robin Hood. Up in Scotland they have Rob Roy McGregor. Here we find a character far lesser known, though of much greater stature. It's here on the village signpost that we find the legend of the Giant of Weston, Jack O'Legs. It's said that long ago, in the 14th century, there lived a giant on the fringes of Weston and Gravely here in Hertfordshire. His home was no castle, no grand hall, but a lonely cave deep within the heart of Weston woods. There, apart from the world, he lived as a hermit, a towering figure who preferred the solitude of the woods to the clamour of the town. Yet despite his isolation, he was no enemy to the villagers. He was a masterful archer, famed for his skill, and the people of Weston loved him dearly. They called him Jack O'Legs. But these were cruel times. The Black Death had swept over England, leaving sorrow and despair in its wake. The first rumblings of the peasants' revolt shook the land, and even for those who survived pestilence and rebellion, the crushing weight of taxes bled them dry. Hardship became a way of life here. The name Jack O'Legs itself would one day be inscribed into old slang, recorded in a curious 1811 dictionary, meaning a tall-legged man, a giant. And truly Jack fit his description. He was so tall, it's told that he could speak to his neighbours by leaning through their upstairs windows. Yet for all his size, Jack was no brute. He was gentle of heart and fiercely loyal to the villagers who called him a friend. Then came a year of misery unlike those before. The harvest failed, so utterly that the fields lay barren, the grain stores empty. To add insult, the price of flour soared beyond reach, and hunger gripped Weston. Starvation loomed over the villagers, and so Jack made a vow. He would not watch his people die. Armed with his mighty bow, he took to a lonely hill between Weston and Gravely, now known as Jack's Hill. There he waited, in silent contempt for the wealthy merchants who travelled the Great North Road. When they came, he struck, swift and sure, robbing the rich to feed the poor. Word spread like wildfire. Soon every whisper in the taverns spoke of the towering highwayman of the hills. But the rich do not suffer their wealth to slip away lightly. Among Jack's victims were prosperous bakers from nearby Baldock, and these men, stung by their losses, forged a cruel pact. They plotted revenge. One dark day, they ambushed him, catching even the great Jack unawares. From behind they struck a coward's blow to the head, and the giant fell senselessly to the earth. When he awoke, it was to torment. They drove a red-hot poker into his eyes, blinding him in agony. Yet Jack was not so easily broken. Gritting his teeth against the pain, he spoke calm, almost regal, and begged them grant him one final wish. The bakers, mocking, agreed, for they'd already decreed his fate. They would hang him from the bough of an ancient oak in a western field. Jack's last request was simple. Bring me my bow, and where my arrow lands I wish to be buried. They laughed, but obliged. Turning his blinded face towards Weston, he nocked an arrow, drew his string with all the strength that still remained in his mighty arms, and let fly. The arrow soared through the sky, one last defiance, one last triumph. It did not fall until it had flown 3 miles, landing in the churchyard of Weston. There, by his own decree, they buried him, and there it's said he lies to this very day, the Giant of Weston, Jack O'Legs. And this is said to be the spot where Jack was laid to rest, spanning 14 feet, stones placed at his head and his feet to give us an idea of his immense stature. The nice folks at the church were kind enough to let me interrupt their meeting to take a look inside, where I came across this beautifully embroidered kneeler depicting the legend. There are mentions of Jack O'Legs dating back as far as 1521, though the first comprehensive record of the story as we know it came in 1728, with the publication of antiquarian Nathaniel Salmon's History of Hertfordshire. It may not be a stretch to say that Jack may well have stolen from the more fortunate to aid his fellow man, and while not a literal giant, his defining features and heroic actions may have been exaggerated through the years given his favour within the village he lived. Regardless, the story of Jack O'Legs remains a staple of Hertfordshire folklore, inspiring poems, songs, and even local bitters. a story that will undoubtedly endure for generations more.